Hey everyone, my name is Arif Mirza. I am the host and producer of The Domain Social. The purpose of this video is just to give you a little bit of a rundown of the rules and guidelines for the auctions that we hold on most weeks. So without any more delay, I'm going to share screen here. And so if you want to submit a domain for the auction, email info@thedomainsocial.com and use the title domain for auction. And please keep this separate from any other emails you need to send me. If you need to send me email for any other reason, send it separately, and just keep this alone so I can try to keep myself organized. It doesn't always work, but if I see domain for auction, I will put it as a priority. The limit is 1 domain per person per week. And I try to put everybody's domain, but priority will be given to no and low reserve domains. And remember, it's a wholesale auction, right? So keep your reserves modest and keep your expectations modest. These are not end users who will be buying your domain. You must be present at the auction in question, and you should have attended a previous social. The reason for attending a previous social is I want you to have an idea of what to expect, and you must be present because there's a segment where you'll be talking about your domain and pitching it to the potential buyers and trying to explain the value. So it's your advantage to be there and to explain the value. So the deadline to submit your domain is 48 hours before the social begins. So usually the socials begin at 3 or 4 o'clock on Friday afternoons, Eastern time. So try to get me your submissions before Wednesday afternoon. If it's a different day, then, again, 2 days before. When you email me, include the domain name, obviously, the current registrar, your reserve, if you have one, and try to state no reserve if you don't have one. That way I know it's clear. The full expiration date. So the year, the month, and the date. And also indicate if there's a push only transfer lock. So if you bought the domain hand reg within the last 60 days, that means it's gonna be locked until the end of those 60 days. So nobody will put to transfer it to another registrar, but you could push it to them at the current registrar. Also, if the domain is not a .com, a .org, or .net, then you also need to include the renewal cost at the current registrar. So especially if it's a premium domain with a higher price, basically anything that's not a standard, a .com, a .org, or .net, you need to include the renewal cost at the current registrar. If the current registrar is very overpriced compared to other registrars, in your pitch, which I'll explain later, you can mention that other price, but always when you send me the info, send me the price at the current registrar, the renewal cost. If on the day of the auction, there's less than 40 people in attendance in the social, you'll be able to withdraw it at the last minute. That's not a problem. We want to make it, as friendly to people submitting domains as possible. So once your domain is up, and I announce the domain, you'll have 30 seconds thereabouts to promote and explain the value of the domain. So try to practice in advance. Get your data points prepared in advance, and any stats or anything like that. Also, there's no commission taken by the domain social. So the sales, and we call it an auction, but it's not really an auction. It's basically a sale directly between the buyer and the seller. So the buyer with the highest, prepared to pay the highest amount, and the seller. So the domain social has no official role in the exchange. And oops, that's the old one. I'm sorry. Auction rules. So once the auction starts, everyone's domain will go up one by one. For your domain, the bidding starts. I put a slide with the data, with the domain name, the expiry date, the registrar. Excuse me. So the bidding starts when the slide goes up, and if there's a reserve, bids have to be above that reserve. The reserve will be shown on the slide. all the buyers are responsible for checking the data and the stats. So if you're a buyer, make sure that you check any information that that you want to be sure it is accurate on your own. So people watching, so spectators to the auction, basically, everybody in the social can talk about various things, to help sell the domain, basically selling points of the domain, potential end users, potential uses for the domain, any data or sales comparisons, we call comps, any statistics, domain history, anything like that. The auctions are recorded. So just in case something doesn't sell, or to protect the value to the buyer, try to limit any potential negative comments to facts. So like if there's anything wrong with the domain or whatever it is, you can bring it up as long as it's factual. So during the auction, the minimum increments to bid are from up to $10. The current bid is $10. Under $10, you can bid minimum increments of $1. So above, between $10 and $30, it's $2 increments. Between $30 and $100, it's $5 increments. And then beyond $100, it's $10 increments to $300. And then once, bidding, if, it's rare it happens, but, it does happen. The bidding gets above 300, then the minimum increments are $25. The auction closes based on the post, when we post like sold or auction closed in the chat. The reason for this is sometimes there's lag in the chat and people bid in the chat. So, people, when you're bidding, you'll be typing it into chat, the amount that you want to bid. And as long as the last bid is in before that last line that says close, it doesn't matter. We'll say going once, going twice, sold, but it's more for show. Well, I mean, we try to keep it accurate, but after the sold, we'll hold off about half a second, and then enter the a line that says auction closed, or domain sold, or something to that effect. So the going once, we'll let it go as people bidding. There's no rush. But once we start going once, going twice, sold, we try to keep the space between the going once and going twice equal to the space between going twice and sold. But again, once another bid is placed, we'll wait a little bit and see how it all goes. Well, yeah. And then, once an auction is closed, if it's sold beyond the reserve, then I ask that, buyer and seller exchange your contact information right away in the Zoom. Again, the domain social has no official role, but I have most people's emails, so it's not a problem. So on that, I will end this here, and I will hope to see you at the next Domain Social. You can always subscribe at thedomainsocial.com. So thedomainsocial.com, subscribe, and every week I send out one or two emails to invite you all. Basically, it contains the Zoom link and password for the next social. So, and all the details and the list of domains at auction. So on that note, I will see you the next social. Take care. Bye-bye.